that Grandpa came home one day and said they called up the math department. Anybody knew a biology teacher? The biology teacher had cancer and couldn't come back. So I said, yes, of course, I have one. He comes home and tells me, I'm sending you up to teach. You were sitting around the house too long.
In the university?
No, high school.
High school kids.
I never taught. It said I would teach.
Why?
I didn't like the idea of standing up. Well, I had trouble standing up in front of a class from anything. But he said, they need you. They need you. You've got to go, and you're just hanging around here doing nothing. And that's what I was. I was very miserable because felt like I wasn't doing anything. So I was sleeping a lot. It was terrible.
Yeah. So that means I work over the kids.
Oh, he wasn't actually, but they took him anyway. He was 2.5. He really wasn't ready for nursery school. No. So I went up there, and they greeted me with open arms. They didn't care. I never had taught, never took a lesson in how to teach, never took any education courses. Grandpa took education courses. But I never took any education courses. He thought he was going to end up teaching in a high school. That was his goal. But there it was, teaching biology to sophomores who didn't know me from Adam. And I started telling them about myself. I never lost their attention after that, because they felt here was somebody who knew something about biology from experience.
Uh-huh.
And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I didn't believe I would ever do anything like that, but I did. Started Josh in nursery school. He fought it every minute. He didn't want to go. He didn't want to stay. But he had no choice. So I did that before I taught for that biology teacher. And then the physics teacher had a heart attack. I taught for him for about 6 months. Biology teacher I taught for the rest of the semester. It must have been about 5 months. I learned as I went along. I learned the biology that I was supposed to teach them, and I learned how to teach. I learned how to make up tests. I learned how to give tests. I learned all this stuff on the wing.
Yeah.
I was good at it, because a lot of people came up to me afterwards to tell me that they went into medicine because of the way I taught them. In between that and the next one, I used to pick up. They would call you like 8 o'clock in the morning. You have to be there at 8:30. So I always used to keep a set of clothing all ready to put on, so I wouldn't have to think about what I was going to wear.
Are you substitute?
Yeah.
After.
Well, I was always substituting. I never had a full-time job.
Oh.
But I had long-term substitutions.
Yeah, right.
I mean, after the term, they hired somebody else to be full-time biology teacher. And the guy with the heart attack came back for the next term. But I would be there, for the rest of the term, teaching physics, teaching chemistry. I really enjoyed teaching physics. Physics, I had to teach not only the bright kids who were taking biology. They didn't have to. I mean, the kids didn't have to take biology.
Right. And
they didn't have to take physics. We had one class of what we called car boys, and that their only interest was cars. And they were kind of wild and unruly. And I set up experiments for them, which nobody else had ever done, on things like the inclined plane, all the basic things in physics.
Uh-huh.
And they were fascinated, because they could relate it to the car.
Right.
And it was real physics, I was teaching them really physics. They were so happy with themselves.
Yeah.
I did a lot of interesting things. I taught, again, somebody had a heart attack in 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever, one of the two. So I had to teach I had to teach science in the junior high because there's nobody else that had the range or the education that I had. And I made some really interesting experiments. It was a lot of fun when you have the freedom. They let me do whatever I wanted. They never restricted me in my curriculum. I could teach whatever, however I wanted.
Yeah.
Because they knew that it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, I never did lesson plans. I never did all the things teachers are supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'm not that organized. I didn't do lesson plans. They made up lesson plans for me. The principal, he was just happy to have me there. I made up some very interesting, which I don't remember now, except one was to show them how you can avoid having steel wool rust by blowing into water with, I forget what in it, adding CO2 to, I forget now what the experiment was, and putting the steel wool in that. And of course, there's no oxygen. So there's no oxidation. So the steel will never rust.
Okay.
I made up stuff. And I always had, whoever I worked with, there was another teacher teaching. See, I was teaching 7th, he was teaching 8th, something like that. Because he was good to work with. We had fun. I found teaching fun all the way through. Of course, I never did it so long with any one class that it became boring.
Yeah.
Because I was always I tried, they once called me to teach a 2nd grade class. I couldn't do it. I got nauseous because I couldn't look down like that. Really, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You have to look down at these kids. Especially they're in their seats, and there you are, and you have to keep looking down.
Yeah. Always sit down.
Huh?
Sit down.
I'm not a STEM person. I taught standing up.
Yeah.
I have no problems about to teach math. I have no sense of geometry. I have no sense of three-dimensional. I can't picture. I always have to have a student come up and do the drawings on the board, a three-dimensional thing. But I was accepted amazingly as a substitute, because most substitutes, they try to trick and do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You remember that.
Yeah. Well, I was substitute.
I had never had any trouble. There's one kid that was, I think his IQ was 55. And he didn't know what to do in the classroom. So I sat him at the desk and told him he was the monitor. And he was in charge of seeing that everybody behaved. He ran the class. I had no problems with him, no problems with the class. And he felt so proud of himself. He never learned anything.
Mm-hmm.
I found teaching very, very rewarding.
Did he become a cop?
Huh?
Then he became a cop?
No, I think he became a bus driver. Because those years where the kids were at home and I was in school with them, I remember Betty yelling down the hallway, "Ma, I need a quarter for lunch." I said, I gave her the quarter. I told her never to do that again. So I decided when the boys got to the high school,
By then you had both?
by then I had Mo, that I would not teach in the high school anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was hard enough with a girl in the high school.
Did you teach their class?
Had a particular problem we worked on and got an answer. and then came into class. And, I was calling on the students for different problems, and she raised her hand to give the answer to this problem. Would you? And it was wrong. So I said, I realized it was wrong afterwards when I got to the classroom.
Yeah.
So she says, but you helped me with this problem. You said this was the right way to do it. Oh boy, I said no more. I better stop this now. These kids are too smart. It's not good. Oh, that was funny.